Hey guys, welcome back. For today's video, I have a full face of drugstore makeup. My original plan was to do a full face of drugstore first impressions, but that video completely failed twice on me. I decided to just give up on that video, even though the second time that I tried filming it, it wasn't even gonna be a first impressions anyway. So I'm here today to do a full face of drugstore makeup using a lot of newer makeup, but some old favorites as well. So let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with my skin today, even though, yeah, I don't think I'll have any fallout today. But yeah, I'm just kind of in the mood to do my skin. I think it's just because I'm feeling really like red and irritated. It's just one of those days for my skin. So I have the E.L.F. Matte Putty Primer and the Luminous Putty Primer. I did try the matte one on my right side the 2 times that I tried filming that first impressions video, and then I tried the luminous one on my left. I ended up not liking the matte one at all. I feel like it made my foundation look really dry and cakey, and it didn't do anything for my pores either. I'm just gonna stick to the luminous one, which I did really like. It just gave a really nice glow to my skin. It does have kind of like a gold sheen to it, but I don't feel like it made my skin look glittery or anything. So I'm just gonna take that luminous primer and apply it kind of in the center of my face and then blend it out towards my cheeks. And then on my forehead, I'm gonna focus it more on the areas that I highlight. I'm not gonna put too much in the center of my forehead since I do tend to get oily there. So I'm really gonna let that primer sink into my skin. And in the meantime, I'm gonna mix up my foundation. So I'm gonna be using my L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Foundation in the shade 460 Golden Beige. And I'm gonna mix in a tiny bit of the shade 475 Sun Beige, which is a couple of shades deeper than that, and it has more of a yellow undertone to it. And I'm actually running out of the shade 460, but I do have a backup already. I just love this foundation so much that I want to have it on hand at all times. And I think today I'm gonna use a brush to blend this in. I just want a little more coverage, especially since I'm like really red around my cheeks. So I'm gonna start by tapping this onto my skin. And I'm still gonna go in with a sponge to just pick up any excess. And then I'm gonna take my E.L.F. Total Face Sponge. I think that's what it's called. This one is actually really nice. I don't know what I was expecting the first time that I tried it, especially because of the texture of the sponge. It's just not as smooth as my Wet n Wild sponge. It has more of a porous texture to it. Wow, I really, really like that luminous primer. It just does something to my skin. And you can still see the luminosity peeking through the foundation, which I really like about it. I did used to do this technique where you apply a cream highlighter underneath your foundation on the high points of your face. And I really like that technique. I just haven't done it in such a long time. But using that luminous putty primer makes me want to try that again. For concealer, I have the E.L.F. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Light Beige. And this concealer, the first time that I tried it, I didn't really like it. I think I just went in with a little too much. So I definitely think with this one, you need less than you think. It is really full coverage. The only thing is that the shade is just a little too yellow, even for me. And I do have a yellow undertone. But other than that, I do really like the way it looks underneath my eyes. It does look really hydrated and smooth. So I'm gonna try to go in with a little bit less. I'm gonna take a little dot right there in the inner corner. And then maybe one little dot there and there. And I'm gonna blend that out with my sponge. I'm avoiding the lids because I am going in with an actual eyeshadow primer. But see how yellow that shade is? I'm definitely going to have to look for a different shade because I do really like the formula. Yeah, a little bit goes a long way. That might have even been too much, even though I did use less than the other times that I've tried this. I did try their original Camo Concealer, and that one just didn't work for me. It was way too drying on my under eyes. So I have two new setting powders that I want to use today. This is the E.L.F. Halo Glow Setting Powder, and I also have the L'Oreal Infallible Loose Setting Powder. This is in the shade Light Medium, and then the E.L.F. one is in the shade Light. I have used the E.L.F. Halo Glow a couple of times, and I really like it. It gives a really like satin sort of finish to the skin. It's not super glowy or like a highlighter or anything. It just gives a really smooth look to the skin. And the L'Oreal Infallible one I did try once, but I barely remember how I felt about this, so I want to use it again today. I think I'm going to use the L'Oreal one to set my entire face, and then I'll just dust a little bit over top of it with the Halo Glow one, kind of like a finishing powder. I'm going to take my E.L.F. small tapered brush, and I'm going to use that to set underneath my eyes and around my nose. I'll bring the rest onto my cheeks as well, and then my forehead. Okay, so far I am really liking that L'Oreal setting powder. I don't feel like it looks too matte on my skin, but it did set everything down really nicely and everything looks really smooth. So yeah, so far I do like that one. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the Halo Glow powder and just kind of use it as a finishing powder. And for that I'm going to take more of a fluffy powder brush. So I'm going to take the IT Cosmetics Heavenly Luxe Wand Ball powder brush, and I'm just going to dip into the powder and just go over top of everything. I don't even know if you'll be able to tell a difference, but I do see a bit more glow to my skin when I'm looking in my mirror. Okay, so I went ahead and filled in my brows with the LA Girl Shady Slim Brow Pencil in the shade Blackest Brown. And to set my brows in place, I'm using the E.L.F. Wow Brow in the shade Deep Brown. This one I ended up really liking. I actually think I like this one more than my Essence Make Me Brow. I didn't think anything could replace that one, especially since I've been using it for such a long time. But there's just something about the way this one separates my brows and gives them volume and fluffiness. This one does have little fibers in there, so I feel like that's what gives my brows a lot of volume, and it does keep my brows in place all day long. And moving on to eyeshadow, I'm going to be priming my lids with the E.L.F. Putty Eye Primer in the shade Cream. This is such an amazing eyeshadow primer. It just makes everything blend over top of it so easily, and it really makes everything pop. This isn't like the creamiest eyeshadow primer. You do have to work to blend it in, but I really don't mind because the formula just works really well with pretty much any eyeshadow that I've tried over top of it. For eyeshadow, I'm going to be using the E.L.F. Bite Size eyeshadow palettes. They're only $3, which is kind of crazy. I can't believe they're that affordable, especially because the formula is amazing. I kind of want to do like a bronzy look today. Maybe that's a little too basic, but I don't know. I'm just kind of in the mood for a bronzy eye. But before I do that, I am going to insert some swatches of all three palettes. Starting with the first one, we have Berry Bad, and this one is a berry toned eyeshadow palette. And then we have Pumpkin Pie, which has more warm tones and coppery bronzy shades. And then we have Truffles, which is more of a smoky neutral sort of palette. I like that it has that shimmery silver shade. So like I said, I think I want to do a bronzy look. So I'm going to start off with the Pumpkin Pie palette. I'm going to dip into this warm matte shade right here. I'm going to take this into the crease with a Morphe JH32 brush. These are a little bit dusty when you dip your brush into them, but I haven't had any issues with blending, so I personally don't mind a dusty eyeshadow or kick up. I mean, just look how easily that matte shade blended out. It's just such a good little eyeshadow palette. And then I'm going to dip into the Truffles palette, and I'm going to take this more neutral dark brown shade, and I'm going to start by applying that onto the outer corners of the lid. So I'm taking that on a Morphe M433 brush, and I'm starting right on the outer corner, and then once I have less product, I am taking it into the crease. So I'm really building up this shade because I do want it to be quite intense. And then dipping back into the Truffles palette, I'm taking this really dark matte brown shade, and I'm applying that with a Morphe JH40 brush. I'm going to start by smudging this on my upper lash line. And then just taking whatever's left and blending that onto the outer corner. And then just taking that M433 brush and lightly blending around the edges. This dark cool tone brown shade is so easy to blend. Like, it didn't even take much effort at all. And then taking that fluffy blending brush and blending one more time. I did skip on using the Berry Bad palette just because I wanted more of a bronzy look, but I will use that one pretty soon. And I was just gonna stick to using the bite-sized palettes, but I think I want to use the E.L.F. liquid glitter shadows. I have 4 shades. I have Flirty Birdie, which is a rose gold glittery shade. And then we have Copper Pop, which is a darker, more coppery shade. And then we have Dirty Martini, which is such a beautiful olive shade. And then finally there's Black Magic, and this is a black base with a ton of silver glitter in it. So I think for today I want to use the shade Copper Pop. I'm gonna just apply that all over the lid, but kind of avoiding the outer corners because I don't want to cover up the dark shadow that I have there. I'm just gonna apply that straight to my lid. Oh, that is so pretty. So I'm gonna take a synthetic brush and just kind of blend around the edges just a little bit. And this is a Dominique Cosmetics DSO4 The Crease Blur. Okay, so I'm loving the way that's looking on my lids. It's such a pretty bronzy, coppery, glittery shade. It's not quite as intense or metallic as the Stila ones, but I feel like they're still really good. So I'm gonna have to play around with the other shades eventually. For the lower lash line, I'm gonna take this warm matte brown shade from that Pumpkin Pie palette, and I'm gonna apply that with a pencil brush. This is the Sigma E30 pencil brush. And then I'm gonna take that other matte brown shade from the Truffles palette, and using the same brush, I'm just gonna go over top of that. I'm gonna do my mascara now, and I'm gonna take the L'Oreal Bambi Eye Mascara, which I've been using lately. It just separates them really nicely, and it gives me really good volume. So I took a little bit of an eating break while I charged up my battery, and I went ahead and tightlined with my Milani Stay Put eyeliner in the shade Semi Sweet. I also applied that to my lower waterline just to give a little more smokiness to the look. So I'm gonna bronze up my skin with the primer infused bronzer from E.L.F, and this is in the shade Forever Sunkissed. This bronzer I have been using for a while and I really like it. I'm gonna take this duo fiber face brush from Real Techniques. This bronzer blends so easily onto the skin. I was originally going to use these Milani Cheek Kiss liquid blushes. I have two shades, Rose Romance. This one's a little too deep for me. I did use it once and it was just a little too much. And then I have the shade 110 Nude Flush. This one I think will work for me, but unfortunately I did already set my face with those setting powders, so I'm not sure how this would apply over top of that. I don't have that much powder, so I'm kind of tempted to just go in with a little bit of this. Ooh, it's kind of a risk, but I think it's a risk I'm willing to take because I really want to try this nude flush shade. Yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. Like I said, the shade Rose Romance is a little too deep for me. It might work out in the summer when I have more of a tan, but for now, I'm just gonna stick with the shade Nude Flush. You know what? I might actually mix a tiny bit of Rose Romance into Nude Flush. So I'm just taking those on the back of my little hand here, and I'm applying it with this E.L.F. Beautifully Precise brush. I'm not sure the name of it, but it's like a dual fiber brush. So let's see how this applies over powder. If it doesn't look good, that's my fault. It's probably not the product's fault. Okay, it's going on nicely. I didn't apply that much powder, so it should look okay. Ooh, that looks nice. The first time I played with this blush, I did apply it with a sponge and I didn't really love the way that it went on to my skin. I think I also went in too heavy, so it looked crazy, but I'm really liking the way it looks right now. I do have two other blushes that I wanted to try, so I might top this liquid blush with one of these. So I have the Essence, the blush. Yeah, that's what they're called. And I have two shades, Bespoke, which is more of a nude brownie sort of blush shade. And then I have Befitting, which is more of a rosy blush. So I think I want to go in with Bespoke over top of this Milani one, but just a tiny bit since I do already have enough blush on. I just really want to play with these. And I'm taking that on a Sigma F40 large angled contour brush. So I'm really tapping off my brush because I don't want to go in with a ton of blush. Okay, that is stunning over top of that Milani blush. I feel like they went really well together. So I'm definitely gonna have to try out this other shade, Befitting, in maybe another video or maybe just whenever I feel like playing with makeup. I'm gonna take the Catrice Prime and Fine Dewy Glow Fixing Spray. I used to use this all the time, and I don't know why lately I just kind of forgot about it. I have gone through maybe 2 or 3 of these. This might be my 3rd bottle. For highlighter, I have the Milani Highlighter Duo in the shade Power Up. And this product is kind of confusing to me because it is supposed to be a cream and powder duo, but the cream side is not really a cream. I'm a little confused about that because this is supposed to be a cream, but it does feel like a powder highlighter. The first time that I tried this out, I thought that maybe the cream side was dried out or something, but I don't think it is. I'm still gonna use it today. I did use it yesterday and I really love this highlighter duo. The cream side is probably my favorite one. I do like the powder side, but this has more of a, not chunky glitter, but the shimmer isn't as fine as the cream side. I'm probably gonna just stick to the cream one, which is more of a gold highlighter shade. So I'm gonna take it on this Real Techniques setting brush, and I'm gonna go in really lightly since I am already super glowy. I did try applying it with my fingers as well, and it applied nicely. I just always prefer using a brush, especially if it's not an actual cream. I was gonna top it off with the powder side, but I feel like I'm already looking super glowy, so I don't want to overdo it. But that shade is just a little bit too deep for me on its own. I feel like in the summer it'll match me much better, but for now I just really like the cream side. And I do want to go in with an inner corner highlight, but I kind of want to take that lighter shade of the liquid glitter shadow. So I'm gonna take the shade Flirty Birdie. I'm gonna go directly onto the inner corners of the eyes. I went ahead and lined my lips off camera because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do for the lips. So I went in with the Maybelline Color Sensational Shaping Lip Liner in the shade Totally Toffee. And honestly, I could probably just leave it as it is, but I did want to top it with this lipstick from E.L.F. This is the Seriously Satin lipstick in the shade Nectar. And oh my goodness, this lipstick is so amazing. I did try it out yesterday and I completely fell in love with it. It's kind of like a light terracotta nude shade. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just like such a pretty summer spring lipstick. So I just tapped it over the center of my lips. I really want to try out some other shades in this Seriously Satin formula because it just went so easily onto my lips and it's really pigmented as well. So yeah, I'm gonna have to pick up another shade or two. So that is everything for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this full face of drugstore makeup. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!